The silence hit me before anything else. I pushed through the front door at 4:47 p.m., arms full of groceries I'd picked up for dinner, and the house felt wrong, not empty. My mom's car was in the driveway, but hollow in a way that made my skin prickle. "Jasper?" I called, setting the bags on the counter. Nothing. No scrambling paws on hardwood, no excited whining, no cold nose nudging my hand. I called again, louder this time, moving toward the living room. His crate sat empty, the door hanging open. His water bowl was gone. The rope toy he'd been gnawing on that morning had vanished from the corner where he always left it. My chest tightened as I turned toward the kitchen. Mom stood at the sink, calmly rinsing a coffee mug like it was any other Tuesday afternoon. "Mom, where's Jasper?" She didn't even look up. "We sold him. Your sister needed money for the girls' phones. You'll get over it." The words didn't register at first. My brain kept trying to rearrange them into something that made sense, something that didn't sound like she'd just told me they sold my dog, my 6-month-old Australian shepherd, the puppy I'd saved for 8 months to buy, the living creature who slept on my bed every night. "You? What?" "He was expensive, Lillian. Don't be dramatic." She shut off the water, finally glancing at me. Her expression was blank, like we were discussing taking out the trash. "Your sister's girls needed new phones for school, and we figured you'd understand. Family comes first." Something hot and sharp lodged in my throat. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out except a strangled sound that didn't feel like it came from me. "My name is Lillian. I'm 27 years old, and I work as a medical transcriptionist. This is the story of how I learned that blood doesn't make you family, and how I made sure they learned it too." I turned and walked out of the kitchen before I said something I couldn't take back. My hands were shaking so hard I had to shove them in my pockets. I found Dad in the garage, organizing his toolbox with the same methodical care he gave to everything except me. "Dad," my voice cracked, "where's Jasper?" He glanced up, wrench in hand. "Your mom told you, didn't she? Look, the girls needed those phones. You'll get another dog someday." "He wasn't just a dog." The words came out sharper than I intended. "He was mine. You had no right." "We have every right." He set down the wrench with a heavy clank. "You live under our roof. We make the decisions. Besides, your sister's kids are more important than a pet." The casual cruelty of it, the way he said it like it was obvious, like I was stupid for not understanding, made something inside me snap. Not loudly, not like rage, more like a wire pulled too tight for too long, finally giving way. I walked back inside, past Mom still puttering in the kitchen, and climbed the stairs to my bedroom. Jasper's crate sat in the corner, empty. His leash hung from the doorknob where I'd left it that morning. His collar with the little bone-shaped tag that read Jasper Riddle lay on my dresser. They'd planned this, discussed it. Probably while I was at work, they'd decided that something I loved, something alive and trusting, was worth less than the convenience of not spending their own money on phones my nieces would crack within a month. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing, and let the realization wash over me in cold, clarifying waves. This wasn't the first time. It was just the worst time. The time I finally saw the pattern clearly. When I was 16, they'd taken my savings to pay for my sister's wedding. When I was 22, they'd pressured me into co-signing a loan they never paid back. Last year, they'd convinced me to add Mom to my bank account just in case of emergencies. And suddenly there were charges at restaurants I'd never been to, subscriptions I'd never authorized, gas for cars I didn't drive. Every time I swallowed it. Every time I told myself it was what family did. You helped. You sacrificed. You didn't make waves. But this time, they'd crossed a line I didn't even know I had. I didn't go downstairs for dinner. I heard Mom call up once, then Dad's heavier footsteps on the stairs, but I'd locked my door. They knocked twice, asked if I was going to pout all night, then left. Around midnight, when the house finally went quiet, I opened my laptop. I wasn't crying anymore. I was thinking clearly for the first time in hours, maybe years. I'd kept one account separate from the joint finances, a savings account from my previous job that I'd never mentioned to them. It had enough for emergencies like this: Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, local rescue groups, Nextdoor. I scrolled through every pet listing within 50 miles, searching for a 6-month-old Australian shepherd with heterochromia, one blue eye, one brown, and a white stripe down his nose. The next morning, after barely sleeping, I resumed my search. At 11:30 a.m., I found him. The listing called him Max, but I'd know those eyes anywhere. The family said they'd gotten him from someone who couldn't keep him anymore and were already overwhelmed. They'd meet me at Riverside Park if I brought $400 cash. I withdrew the money from my personal account, the one Mom didn't have access to, and drove across town with my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. When the family's SUV pulled into the parking lot and I saw Jasper in the back seat, his ears shot up. His tail started wagging so hard his whole body wiggled. The moment they opened the door, he lunged toward me, nearly knocking me over, licking my face and whining like he'd been waiting for me to come get him. "He really likes you," the woman said, looking relieved. "Are you sure you can handle him? He's a lot of energy." "He's mine," I said quietly, clipping his leash on. "He's always been mine." I drove home with Jasper's head on my lap, his warm weight anchoring something in me that had been floating loose. When I pulled into the driveway at 2:15 p.m., I didn't hesitate. I walked straight through the front door with Jasper at my heels. Mom was folding laundry in the living room. She looked up, saw Jasper, and froze. The towel slipped from her hands onto the floor. "What? How did you—" "I bought him back." I kept my voice level, calm. "From the people you sold him to." Her face went red. "Lillian, that is completely unacceptable. We made a decision as a family." "No." The word came out harder than I'd ever spoken to her. "You made a decision, without asking me, about something that belonged to me, and now I've corrected it." I walked upstairs before she could respond, locked my bedroom door, and sat on the floor with Jasper pressed against my side. His breathing was steady and warm, and for the first time since yesterday, I felt like I could breathe too. Hours passed in tense silence until around 6 p.m. when the real confrontation began. Dad pounding on my door, demanding I stop this nonsense. Mom calling me selfish, ungrateful, dramatic. My sister texting that I'd ruined Christmas by making everything about me. I didn't answer. I just held Jasper and stared at the ceiling, feeling something cold and clear settle over me like armor. If they could sell my dog for phones, they were capable of anything, and I was done being their easiest target. The next morning, I came downstairs to a kitchen full of forced normalcy. Mom flipping pancakes, Dad reading the news on his tablet. Nobody mentioned yesterday, nobody apologized. They were just waiting for me to fall back in line like I always did. I poured myself coffee, checked my phone, and saw the message at the top of the screen. No service. I tapped the Wi-Fi icon. Connected, but no internet. I checked the router. It was on, just locked. Then I opened my phone carrier app and saw it immediately. My number had been removed from the family plan. No warning, no conversation, just punishment. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then set my coffee down carefully. Very carefully. "Did you turn off my phone?" I asked. Mom didn't look up from her pancakes. "You're not acting like part of this family, so you don't get family privileges." Something clicked. Not anger, clarity. Perfect crystalline clarity. The joint bank account they used for all their bills, the mortgage, the utilities, the car payments, was in my name. Mom had convinced me months ago to make it joint for convenience, but I was the primary account holder. I went back upstairs, opened my laptop, and logged into the account. $4,847.62. I recognized maybe $200 of charges as mine from the last month. Everything else was them. Restaurants, Amazon orders, gas stations in towns I'd never visited, subscriptions I'd never signed up for. They'd been using me as their personal ATM while treating me like I owed them for the privilege of existing. I opened a new checking account at a different bank, transferred every dollar. Then I removed Mom's access entirely. The whole process took 11 minutes. When I called the bank to flag the unauthorized transactions from the past 6 months, the representative said I had grounds to file for fraud recovery on most of them. 3 weeks later, the bank recovered $3,200 of unauthorized charges. It didn't erase what they'd done, but it helped me afford the security deposit on my new place. I scheduled a callback for the next day. By mid-afternoon, I'd packed everything essential and loaded my car. 1 duffel bag with clothes, 1 box with Jasper's things, my laptop and important documents. Everything else could stay. I loaded everything into my car while they were both occupied. Mom in the shower, Dad on a work call, and drove straight to Tessa's apartment. She was a coworker I barely knew outside the office, but we'd shared lunch breaks a few times, and she'd mentioned her spare room when I'd vaguely hinted at family tension, when I'd told her twice, "If you ever need anything, my door's open." When I knocked at 11:30 a.m. with Jasper at my feet and a duffel bag over my shoulder, Tessa took one look at my face and said, "Guest room's yours. I'll grab some sheets." That night, lying on Tessa's couch with Jasper curled against my legs, my phone lit up. I'd bought a prepaid SIM and the messages came flooding through the moment I connected to Tessa's Wi-Fi. Mom, where are you? Answer me now. Dad, Lillian, be serious. Come home. My sister, you're doing all this over a dog? Grow up. Mom again, we're worried. Please just come back. Not one apology, not one acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just inconvenience, just control slipping through their fingers. I blocked their numbers and started searching for apartments. By morning, I had 6 alerts. Failed login attempts on your account. Then a text from Mom's new number. What did you do to the bank account? Call me now. I didn't respond. I just forwarded the alerts to my email for documentation and kept looking at rental listings. Over the next 3 days, the messages got more desperate, then angrier. Then they started recruiting. Aunt Pam called. I heard there's some drama. Maybe we should all sit down together. Did they tell you they sold my dog? I asked. Silence. Then, well, they thought it would help your sister's family. I hung up. Then Aunt Betty called, Mom's older sister, the one nobody messed with at family gatherings, the one who remembered every slight and feared no one. Lillian, she said when I answered, I heard bits and pieces from Pam. Tell me everything. So I did, every detail, the dog, the money, the phone, the years of using me as a bank. I didn't soften anything. When I finished, Betty was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Pack your things, she said. Come stay with me, and don't tell your parents where you're going. Something in her voice made my spine straighten. Okay. I'll handle the rest, she added, and hung up. I texted Tessa, thanked her profusely, promised to take her to dinner when things settled, and drove to Betty's house that afternoon. It sat behind tall pines on the edge of town, quiet and solid like Betty herself. She had the guest room ready, fresh towels, a bowl of water for Jasper. She didn't ask if I was okay. She could see I wasn't. She just made dinner and told me where everything was. The next morning, Betty came into the kitchen already dressed, car keys in hand. Don't plan anything this afternoon, she said. Keep your phone close. Then she left. She was gone for an hour and 40 minutes. When she came back, she set her keys on the counter with deliberate calm, and my phone immediately started buzzing. Mom, you didn't need to bring Betty into this. Sister, wow, real mature, Lillian. Dad, answer your phone, we need to talk. I looked at Betty. What did you do? She poured herself tea. Reminded them what happens when they cross someone who remembers everything. Later, Betty told me what happened. She'd walked into their house without knocking, laid everything on the kitchen table. The dog, the bank account, the phone, the years of financial manipulation, and let them try to defend themselves. When Mom started making excuses, Betty cut her off. Don't bother lying, I'm not Lillian. Then Betty mentioned something I didn't even know she knew about. Dad's unpermitted garage renovation last year. Betty had stopped by to drop off Christmas presents last year and noticed the work. She'd made a pointed comment about code enforcement that Dad had nervously laughed off, the one he definitely didn't want code enforcement hearing about now. The house went silent after that. But of course, their takeaway wasn't, we hurt our daughter. It was, Lillian turned someone against us. That night, another alert. Failed login attempt on your account. Then a Venmo request from Dad. $200 for expenses you owe us. I stared at it, then laughed. Actually laughed out loud. They'd sold my dog, stolen my money, cut off my phone, and they wanted me to pay them. I declined the request and blocked him. 3 days later, I toured an apartment 40 minutes away. Small, outdated, slightly too expensive. But it allowed dogs, and more importantly, nobody there knew my parents. I signed the lease that afternoon. When I moved in 2 weeks later, carrying my single duffel bag up the stairs with Jasper trotting beside me, my phone buzzed with 19 missed calls. Mom, you don't have to live like this. Come home. Dad, you should have talked to us first. Sister, we don't deserve this. You're acting crazy. I blocked all of them and shut off my phone. That night, sitting on my borrowed air mattress in an empty apartment with water-stained walls and a flickering kitchen light, Jasper climbed onto my lap. He was too big for it, but he tried anyway, resting his head against my chest. I scratched behind his ears and looked around at the space that was entirely, completely mine. A week later, an envelope appeared under my door. No return address, but I recognized Mom's handwriting. The letter inside was 3 pages long. You'll understand when you have children. We made mistakes, but you're overreacting. Come home and we'll forget all of this. Not one real apology. Not one acknowledgement that they'd sold something I loved. Not one moment of actual accountability. I folded the letter, put it in a drawer, and made myself remember it. Not because I wanted to keep it, because I never wanted to forget what I'd escaped. 2 months later, Betty called to tell me Mom and Dad had shown up at her house with a pie, ready to forgive me. Forgive me, I repeated. That's what I said. Betty's voice was dry. I told them you don't need their forgiveness, and if they'd loved you half as much as they loved controlling you, none of this would have happened. I pressed my hand to my chest, feeling something warm and painful there. Thank you. They won't bother you anymore, Betty said. She was right. After that day, the calls stopped entirely. My sister sent one final text calling me dead to the family, then nothing. The silence that followed wasn't temporary. It was permanent, then softer. Live your life, Lillian, not theirs. 6 months after I left, I got a new phone number, gave it to Tessa, Betty, and a handful of coworkers. Nobody else. My apartment was still small, still imperfect, but I'd made it mine. Jasper's bed in the corner, plants on the windowsill, photos I'd taken at the park on the walls. Sometimes I thought about my parents, wondered if they'd ever understood what they'd done, if they'd ever actually missed me, rather than just missed what I provided. But mostly, I didn't think about them at all. One evening, I was sitting on my couch with Jasper sprawled across my lap, his head heavy against my leg, when I realized something that made my throat tight. The day they sold him, I thought they'd taken everything from me. But really, they'd given me something. The final proof that their love had always been conditional. That the moment I stopped being useful, I stopped mattering. And knowing that, really, truly knowing it, had set me free. I ran my fingers through Jasper's fur, feeling his steady breathing against my palm. They thought you were the price I'd pay to stay, I whispered, but you were the reason I finally left. In the quiet of my small apartment, with my dog breathing softly beside me and my life entirely my own, I felt something I hadn't felt in 27 years. Peace, real, uncomplicated peace. I wasn't going back, not ever. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.